She ran back to the restaurant, screaming that someone had taken Madeline, and what started as a parent's nightmare would spiral into one of the most famous missing child cases in modern history. It was just another warm evening in Praia da Luz, Portugal. On May 3rd, 2007, Kate and Gerry McCann were enjoying dinner with friends at the Ocean Club Resort, less than 200 feet from their holiday apartment. Their 3 young children were asleep inside apartment 5A. Around 10 p.m., Kate returned to check on them and found an empty bed where 3-year-old Madeline should have been. The window was slightly open, the shutters appeared tampered with, and panic set in instantly. She ran back to the restaurant, screaming that someone had taken Madeline, and what started as a parent's nightmare would spiral into one of the most famous missing child cases in modern history. That night, the search began immediately. Friends, staff, and strangers combed the surrounding area with flashlights, calling her name, but no trace was found. By morning, the case had grown beyond a simple search. Portuguese police launched a full investigation. The media descended almost overnight. Within days, Madeline's photograph was on every front page in Europe and soon across the world. The McCanns pleaded for her safe return, but as time passed, questions about what really happened began to overshadow the search. In the early days, Portuguese authorities focused on an abduction theory. Witness Jane Tanner reported seeing a man around 9:15 p.m. carrying a child in pajamas across the street near the McCann apartment. That sighting became one of the earliest and most debated pieces of evidence. But as weeks turned into months, doubts crept in. The shutters on the window didn't seem forced open. There were no obvious signs of a struggle inside. Investigators began quietly entertaining another possibility. Was this a cover-up of an accident rather than a kidnapping? By the summer of 2007, the narrative had shifted. The Portuguese police, feeling pressure over the lack of progress, looked closely at Kate and Gerry McCann. They were even declared arguidos, formal suspects, that September. The theory suggested Madeline might have died accidentally and that her parents panicked, hid her body, and staged an abduction. British forensics were brought in. Cadaver dogs reportedly reacted inside the apartment, and even in the car the family rented weeks later, sparking even more rumors. Though the McCanns were cleared of any wrongdoing in 2008, the shadow of suspicion never entirely faded. Among the darkest theories to emerge was one involving a blue tennis bag that Gerry McCann was known to carry. Conspiracy websites and blogs claimed the bag went missing after Madeline vanished. Some believed that if Madeline had died in the apartment, Gerry might have used the bag to move her body. Comment sections and forums filled with people dissecting blurry photos and timelines, insisting the bag was a key clue. Where is the tennis bag? Became a repeated question online, with some suggesting it had simply vanished into thin air. The family strongly denied these claims, and no investigator has ever confirmed that the bag played any role. Despite the rumors, no solid evidence ever linked the tennis bag to Madeline's disappearance. But the speculation took on a life of its own. In the absence of answers, theories like this found fertile ground. Blogs and forums poured over sightings, timelines, and objects seen or not seen in photos from that trip. One post pointed out that Gerry had played tennis the day of Madeline's disappearance. Some argued he could have used the bag later that night. Others questioned how a father having dinner with friends could sneak away long enough to do something so elaborate. None of it was proven, but the theory endured because the case remained open-ended. The timeline continued to expand. On May 12, 2007, Madeline's 4th birthday, her parents made an emotional plea on television. Through the rest of the year, police followed leads and dead ends. By 2011, the UK launched its own review called Operation Grange, focusing more on the possibility of stranger abduction. Yet for many, the whispers about the missing tennis bag and the idea of a cover-up never disappeared. The internet kept those rumors alive, even when official investigations moved in other directions. Then came a major shift. In 2020, German prosecutors publicly named Christian Brückner, a convicted sex offender, as their prime suspect. He had lived near Praia da Luz in 2007 and had a long criminal history involving assaults on children. Prosecutors went as far as stating they believe Madeline is dead. Brückner had lived near Praia da Luz for years, sometimes in a camper van, and his phone records placed him in the area the night Madeline disappeared. In 2023, a large search took place at the Arade Dam in Portugal, an area Brückner reportedly frequented. Police dug, used radar, and collected soil and fabric samples. Items of interest were sent for testing in Germany, raising hopes that a breakthrough was near. But months later, no confirmation came that these finds had provided answers. In 2024, Brückner was tried and convicted for unrelated sex crimes, and he now sits in a German prison, continuing to deny any involvement in Madeleine's disappearance. It has now been more than 18 years since that night in Praia da Luz, and the case of Madeline McCann is still open. The mystery hasn't faded. Instead, it has evolved. But the Portuguese authorities closed their original investigation in 2008, but reopened it in 2013 after pressure from the British government and new information from Scotland Yard's Operation Grange. Over the past decade, investigators have combed through hundreds of leads and questioned dozens of witnesses. Yet Madeline's fate remains unresolved. Today, the case is at a crossroads. Christian Brückner remains the prime suspect for German authorities, who say they believe they know what happened, but they haven't publicly shown evidence strong enough to file murder charges in this case. The McCanns remain hopeful but cautious, having endured years of false hope and crushing disappointments. They have never stopped searching for answers. Despite these developments, people continue to cling to other theories, including the one about the blue tennis bag. On forums and social media, the theory has taken on a life of its own. Some say the bag vanished right after Madeline's disappearance, though no evidence ever proved that claim. Others argue that if the bag had been used to move her, someone would have seen something, or forensic evidence would have been found. The McCanns have repeatedly denied the rumor, but it lingers because there has never been a body, no closure, and too many unanswered questions. The public continues to debate what happened. Some remain convinced of the abduction theory. Others continue to focus on the darker theories, including the tennis bag. But after all these years, no theory has been proven. No one has been charged with taking Madeline, and no trace of her has ever been found. As of 2025, the Madeline McCann case is still one of the most famous missing child cases in the world. But it's also one of the most frustrating. Despite hundreds of hours of police work, millions spent on searches, and countless theories, there is still no definitive answer. The blue tennis bag rumor remains exactly that, a rumor. Christian Brückner remains the main focus for German investigators, but even that path has yet to bring justice or finality. This case continues to haunt because it feels like it could be solved. Somewhere out there, the truth exists. Somewhere, someone knows what happened to Madeline McCann. Until that truth comes to light, the case will remain a painful, unresolved chapter in true crime history, and theories like the one about the tennis bag will continue to live online, feeding the mystery and the heartbreak. Thank you for watching Why I Killed You TV. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel for more deep dives into haunting true crime stories like this one.
They hate you. You're gonna die. I don't want to do this.